a Swiss mountaintop, armed guards protect a secret meeting of the world's power elite. At Yale University, the scions of America's first families confess their sexual exploits from a gruesome coffin. In a smoke-filled room, a handful of power brokers manipulate the global economy. These are the purported activities of some of America's secret societies, groups with names like Bilderberg, Skull and Bones, and the Trilateral Commission.
What people were going to see is going to make their hair curl. What's been going on in front of their face and behind their back all their lives, while they thought a completely different story was unfolding.
A lot of people are familiar with the more famous names that are connected to these secret societies, Henry Kissinger, David Rockefeller, etc., etc. But there are literally hundreds of top-level, very powerful people who are at the inner core of these secret societies.
From the United States' earliest history, secret societies such as the Freemasons and the Oddfellows have existed. Their rituals, symbols, and secret handshakes have offered an endless source of fascination and speculation for the uninitiated. Now, according to a small but growing number of conspiracy theorists, these purportedly benign institutions are part of a sinister plot.
There is in truth a hidden hand that's working behind the scenes, behind all these apparently unconnected organizations. And they are advancing quietly, unseen, an agenda for the world government, world central bank, world currency, world army, and a microchip population. And it's not done openly, because if we knew that was the agenda, we'd scream very loudly.
And you go look through history, and history is just one long list of conspiracies. In fact, I often tell people, if it's not an act of God, it's a conspiracy.
Someday a friend may offer you
Mondo Diablo.
You'll tell your friend to forget it.
This show came from the Hitler Channel and the UFO Network. Let's have a look, shall we, at the experts who are giving us this astounding information. First of all is the most strident voice, the Aussie voice of David Icke. He's everywhere, and I don't know why. But he's liked very much by truthers and prison planeteers. He knows all sorts of things that real scientists don't know, and he knows what causes all cancer. If only someone out there would listen to him. I guess they do. Lots of dopey celebrities do. Celebrities eat up this shit anyway. Icke is the guy who says from the start that there's a hidden hand behind all of these conspiracy. He doesn't say whose hand it is, or rather claw, but I think it's probably Jesus. Anyway, this is from his wiki page, because his massive site just gives me a headache. At the heart of his theories lies the idea that a secret group of reptilian humanoids called the Babylonian Brotherhood controls humanity, and that many prominent figures are reptilian, including George W. Bush, Queen Elizabeth II, Chris Christopherson, and Boxcar Willie. Bum, bum. Some of Icke's theories have attracted the attention of the far right and the suspicion of Jewish groups. He has argued, for example, that the reptilians were the original authors of the Protocols of the Elders of Zion, a 1903 Russian forgery purporting to be a plan by the Jewish people to achieve world domination. Icke strongly denies there's anything anti-Semitic about this claim. He was allowed to enter Canada in '99, only after persuading immigrant officials that, as British journalist John Ronson put it, when he said lizards, he meant lizards. But his books were still removed from the shelves of Indigo Books, a Canadian chain, after protests from the Canadian Jewish Congress. Icke's problems in Canada became the focus in 2001 of a documentary by Ronson, Icke, the Lizards, and the Jews. Okay, so the next expert is Jim Marrs, who wrote Cover Up, the book that inspired the film JFK. Now, I don't really mind JFK conspiracy theories. It's sort of like junior varsity level conspiracy, very pink conspiracy. Everyone knows there's a big cover-up anyway. Of course, according to him, 9/11 was an inside job. The Air Force is hiding aliens in a hangar somewhere, and secret spies are remote viewing the hell out of us, even though Google got a lot further, and so now your Aunt Fanny can see 100% more trash about you. Oh, and the Federal Reserve killed Kennedy.
It happened in Texas one cold winter morning. She fought for her honor the way a girl should. She fought for her honor as daylight was dawning, and no one believed that her aim was so good.
She'll steal your heart right from the start, no near and far as candy bar, candy bar, candy bar.
She was a gal who had come into Dallas, come here a-searching for fortune and fame. Old Uncle Abe let her dance at his palace, where she met a fella who gave her his name. He kicked in the door just a howling and a hooting. He told her he wanted to chat for a spell. He didn't know that there soon would be shooting, but she let him have it, and down he fell.
She'll steal your heart right from the start, no near and far as candy bar, candy bar, candy bar.
They took her away and they showed her no pity, this poor little dancer so sad and forlorn. But she wasn't friendless in this wicked city. Her old Uncle Abe said the show must go on. Now here is a message to all you young maidens. Take it from Candy, who really should know. If you've got your youth and your figure ain't fading, show what you've got while you've got it to show.
She'll steal your heart right from the start, no near and far as candy bar, candy bar, candy bar, candy bar.
have yet to see a clandestine effort by the so-called secret societies to gain power and to harm other people or to fulfill their own ambitions through that power.
To trace the history of America's secret societies and divine their true motivations presents a unique challenge. By its very definition, a secret society is secret, and its rituals and symbols are not easily uncovered. There are thousands of books, media reports, and internet sites all professing to know the true history of these societies, but few agree on what that truth is.
It's a kind of pseudo-scholarship. It has the form of real scholarship, but it doesn't follow any of the logical rules that are required by scholarship.
Although there are hundreds of secret societies operating in the United States, there are a few whose names appear frequently. They are the Freemasons, Skull and Bones, the Council on Foreign Relations, the Trilateral Commission, and the most secretive of all, Bilderberg. Although many of these groups have a public face and diverse membership roles, conspiracy researchers like David Icke believe these groups are all controlled by one elite group.
The structure by which the world is controlled by a few people, literally a handful at the very top, is like Russian dolls, one doll inside another, inside another, inside another. I call this web in which they all fit, the Illuminati, the illuminated ones, illuminated into knowledge that the rest of us don't get. And that Illuminati has been manipulating for centuries to bring about what is now appearing before our eyes.
The notion of a few hands that surreptitiously pull all the strings is not new. It is as old as the oldest secret societies.
You've got to see this. I don't know if this is real or not. I don't know if this is real or not. Section 1520, end of the world by any available procedure. Aligned with the forces of light, with the forces of darkness. You never cut a deal with the devil. Cut a deal with the devil.
Open up to realities of aliens and stuff. Open up to realities of aliens and stuff. Which.
That's right. What do you think is going to happen?
You are so gonna love me. You're gonna go to heaven no matter what. But going off.
I have two things.
Okay.
One, cock, black holes. Black holes, Mr. Cock.
Yep. Don't give it away. Cut a deal with the devil.
That's great. Well, there has to be something. I'm not a criminal.
That is absolutely bizarre. It's on bizarre. It's on closure. The yada.
We love each other.
We're going to put you on hold. Yeah. That's weird. I mean, I'm convinced that you could have reincarnated. Bigger bud has been put on hold. But a big one.
Gag. You must. I love the man. Happy. I love the man. My mind works in such a way that a spaceman controls it.
Cut a deal with the devil.
Even among the sub-geniuses, it takes all kinds, I mean, they're, by definition, the only thing they have in common is they got nothing in common with the conspiracy of the normals. So we run into all manner of conflicting conspiracy theories, including the old one. If there were some sub-geniuses on our news group who were seriously trying to convince us that the Jews run America. Well, that may be so. I grew up in the film business in Dallas, and I knew an awful lot of good old boys that kind of were running the shows, and they didn't seem to be in any terrible fear of Jewish, black, or Hispanic, or sub-genius conspiracies taking them over, because we're all too busy fighting amongst ourselves. All the little minority groups and weirdos are all too busy fighting themselves while the man laughs and the burning man burns. And my main man, Bob Dobbs, while his stocks are rising from sheer unthinking slack power, friends. And that's why we must, like Bob's stocks, rise above the little conspiracies that are dangled in front of frustrated crackpots like easy answers to our blinder tubes, oh my droogies. And, the complex is not simple. You can't, and Rush Limbaugh is always talking about, I make the complex simple. Well, great. That's great for simpletons, but the complex is complex. Some of us like it that way. A does not equal B. And A to the square root times X certainly does not equal B. Friends, there is only one conspiracy, and that is the conspiracy of the normals.
With some of the most famous people in the world today, you find that their rituals are an absolute mirror of the ones that were carried out in Babylon, in Egypt, and the ancient world in general. It's an unbroken span of manipulation from the far ancient world to the present day.
While it's difficult to pinpoint when the world's first secret societies were formed, cuneiform tablets from the Sumerian civilization may suggest it is as early as 2500 BC. But we do know that Egyptian pharaoh Thutmose III creates in 1500 BC a group that follows the modern definition of a secret society: elite members who perform secret rituals and possess secret knowledge they use to influence civilization.
They were the people that built the fantastic structures like the pyramids and stuff with knowledge that a primitive people would never have been able to do.
The reason a lot of the ancient knowledge had to be kept secret was simply because the knowledge they had would have empowered the people. And that is not what the ruling leadership desired.
By the end of the first millennium AD, one small group of 9 French crusaders form under the name Knights Templar.
Now, the official story is that they were created to protect pilgrims visiting the Holy Land, right? Well, there's 9 of these guys for 9 years. I mean, they're going to protect a lot of pilgrims. Of course, it was a cover story. They went to Jerusalem, and they stayed there for 9 years, and they were searching for something, and it seems they found it, whatever it was. And suddenly things changed very rapidly. This small little 9-man organization started to massively expand.
just can't bear to watch.
When a white girl marries a Negro, her sun of light goes down, glaring spots of sin appear on her gown. White and black men stand aghast while viewing the strange row. They'll wreck themselves, they'll damn each other so. Days and nights she felt black lips pressed against her own. On the fourth night her troubled soul let out a frightful groan. But they must meet face to face, so I stagger through my days, far from God's love and grace. The saddest story ever told. For 3 nights she felt black lips pressed against her own. On the 4th night her troubled soul let out a frightful groan. But they must meet face to face, so I stagger through my days, far from God's love and grace. The saddest story ever told.
Just what the Knights Templar find remains a mystery. The persistent rumor is that they find the Holy Grail, which is, depending on alternate legends, either the chalice used by Christ at the Last Supper or a piece of the cross he was crucified on.
It became one of the most, if not the most influential organizations in Europe. To join the Templars, you had to give them all your wealth and land, and they were signing up the noble families of Europe. They became massively wealthy, massively quickly.
The Knights Templar were holy, at the same time they were engaged in warfare. And because of these two attributes, they needed money. They needed money to pay for their warfare. And they had a real ability to raise money because they could call on people's piety to pay for their expenses.
For nearly 200 years, the Knights Templar gain hundreds, perhaps thousands of members from the wealthiest of the European elite. Although the total membership remains unknown, we do know the Knights Templar are able to amass a fortune they use to exert tremendous control throughout Europe by, in effect, controlling its largest private banking system.
They had the crown heads of Europe up to their neck in debt to them.
In 1307, the Knights Templar are almost wiped out. The King of France convinces Pope Clement V that they are not the holy defenders of the faith, but in fact are seeking to destroy it.
I think it was the King of France's desire for their wealth more than anything else which caused him to turn against them. But the vehicle that he used to turn against them was a conspiracy theory. He found it useful, as have many kings and many other people since then found it useful to adopt a conspiracy theory as a means to attack an enemy.
Mom, do we have to move again? I want to make some friends. Before Pop died, did you have to work all the time too? Why don't you go to church, Mom? Don't you believe in God?
He's always alone. I think he has a chip on his shoulder.
Your son is failing his courses.
Your son needs psychiatric help.
He rebels against all authority.
He doesn't have any friends.
Mom, I'm leaving home to join the Marines.
You are hereby dishonorably discharged from the United States Marines.
I would like a copy of Das Kapital by Karl Marx. I am a Marxist. I detest American imperialism. I want to dissolve my American citizenship and live in Russia. My dishonorable discharge was not changed as it should have been. I shall use everything within my means to right this gross injustice.
It's a conspiracy, but it only takes one such conspiracy to bring every one of our little individual conspiracies down. That's the sad, sad part, especially when a subgenius falls for conspiracy bullshit. Such as the idea that the Jews control America or so forth and so on. The big conspiracy always gives you a bunch of your own special little conspiracy enemy to hate. They want to get you really hating one of those little conspiracies, because that way there's always one for you to join. There's always one that's your friend that's also against that other little conspiracy. And most of us on this last November 7th went out and voted for whichever conspiracy was the least of our enemies. Or else we didn't vote at all, which meant you voted for whoever really won. Well, we know who won, because, like I say, they just shoot you in the back. That's how they get there. But, friends, I don't know. It might be true that mere human Jews or commies or queers or Nazis or Negroes or Mexicans or Scientologists or good old boys or white supremacists or subgenius idiots run the entire world. I don't know. But I do know this. They all know how to throw a damn good party. But the party we will throw will make their parties look uncannily almost like little concentration camps. A funny coincidence. We talk a lot about coincidence. Not many people like to admit that if alien science would seem like magic to us, then really good alien science would just seem like coincidence. Notice any good coincidences lately? Maybe that's just alien science. Who is to judge, friends, but Bob? And so let none be a bigot except for Bob. Only Bob has the ability to judge a book by its cover and look a gift horse in the mouth and see, and then get paid extra just to take that horse.
Jacques de Molay, the last Grand Master of the Knights Templar, is burned at the stake in Paris in 1314. But a few surviving Templars are believed to have escaped execution.
The Templars went north, fleeing from France, to Scotland, and they re-emerged under another name, the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry. Scottish Rite of Freemasonry is the biggest secret society in the world. Its membership pervades world politics, business, banking, the whole shebang. And it's the Templars under another name.
When we continue, the world's largest secret society comes to America, and its influence is enormous.
Of the 56 signatories of the American Declaration of Independence, 50 were known Freemasons, only one was known not to be.
According to the conspiracy theorists' view of the world, the Knights Templar fleeing persecution by the King of France bring their secret knowledge, whatever that may have been, to Britain and form regional clubs called lodges in a new organization called Freemasonry. Modern Masonry, however, claims no connection to the Knights Templar.
Probably the number one secret society in terms of fear and speculation are the Freemasons.
The Freemasons are the connective tissue that have carried ancient knowledge all the way through the centuries up into the modern secret societies.
Just about the only thing conspiracy advocates and Freemason historians agree on is the date of the first Grand Lodge meeting of the organization, June 24th, 1717, at the Goose and Gridiron Ale House in London, England. The Freemasons were founded as an organization dedicated to the free exchange of ideas.
That might sound simple and obvious today, but there weren't many such places where individuals could get together and freely discuss the issues of the day.
What's the matter, little boy?
Where's my mama and my daddy? You've killed them, haven't you?
Yes. Think of how much better off you will be. Just take her.
I won't go straight. I want my mama and my daddy.
Hey, little boy. What is done is done. You now belong to the state. To what I have to say. We do not want to be built. This picture of your Jesus with you healed. They will let you go free. But if you don't, they will cut your head off.
One day you died for me, and I'm willing to die for you.
Why, you stupid little fool!
And almost from its inception, there are conspiracy theories about the Freemasons' hidden agenda.
They were seen as subversive by the autocratic kings who ruled at that time, who fostered theories about how subversive and evil these lodges were, whereas in fact they were nothing of the sort.
Freemasons arrive in America as early as the 1730s, and very quickly they establish a membership roll of prestigious colonists.
Of the 56 signatories of the American Declaration of Independence, 50 were known Freemasons, only one was known not to be. George Washington's first inauguration in 1789 was a Freemasonic ritual. Look at the pictures.
At the same time that American Freemasons are supposedly using their secret knowledge to create a new country, a Freemason in Bavaria by the name of Adam Weishaupt forms a secret society known as the Order of the Illuminati.
The Illuminati were a small group that attempted to apply the ideals of the Enlightenment. They tried to create a just society in a corrupt world, and they wanted to do this all in a private way.
Within a few short years, the Illuminati grows to over 2,000 members from throughout Europe. The organization claims to be a forum for free thinkers to discuss political change. But to the rulers of Europe, it is a subversive secret society, and the Illuminati is suppressed just 8 years after its inception in 1784.
The Illuminati were simply closed down by the ruler in Austria, and that was that. They went out of business, but not in the imagination of people who fear it.
The Illuminati were not just involved, they were the driving force behind the creation of what we now call the United States.
Sneak, shameless, hangman rope gangsters, gangster government leaders into eternal Frankenstein living death slavery. This expose page made Ronnie president. Jimmy Carter, the scribble print yokel felon, warmed over McGovern, in with the controlling Georgia Mafia and all the parroting puppet governors, congressmen, many mayors, etc., had my 8-page typewritten letter, which includes this communist gangster computer god expose, and even pages explaining some of the many undetectable extermination attempts against me by this worse mongrel gangster communist police state. Ask them for copies of my said letter to them, the communist gangster computer god anointed untouchables, insidious, sneak, deadly gangsters, staged con artists, parroting puppets, figureheads, fags and playboys, even appointed niggers, deadly enemies of the human race, because of my letters. In cowardly terror, feloniously, they watch my Frankenstein eyesight television playback, waiting for my undetectable extermination. I face the deadly, insidious inevitability of gradualness conspiracy, completely alone and isolated, waiting for my undetectable extermination. I very seldom venture out to one of the 4 last plebeian supermarkets left in this gigantic, nigger-infested, boarded-up ghost town. We already have computer god top secret dual food standard, inferior degenerate plebeian masses dictionary, vegetables and foods, and for the scum, wholesome normal vegetables and foods. I hide, starving, begging for even incomplete and late delivery of plebeian, especially picked, secretly coded, inferior, seriously degenerative, computer god, unbelievably and scientifically, genetically engineered, hybrid protein poisoning cereals and pulp hybrid, horseradish green vegetables from a vegetarian diet. Unbelievably innocent and worse than the defenseless. I have no gangster Frankenstein earphone radio. Only the impossible, a real miracle can save me. Parroting puppet gangster slave, if you believe in anything, I beg you say one word of pray for me. For your own hope for you. Francis E. Deck, 29 Maple Avenue, Hampstead, New York.
Friends, I myself have had to start being careful not to say mean, bear with me, I have to be careful not to say mean and bigoted things about Christians and Republicans and commies. And I was actually patting myself on the back one day, thinking, wow, I'm so cool, at least I'm not anti-Semitic for a, Texas boy. I forgive the Jews for inventing the thing that fucked them up and us. I forgive them for inventing Christianity, But I can never forgive our Yeti ancestors for the foolishness of creating humans and then letting them out of their cages. And now, somebody said to me, Reverend Stang, did I hear you correctly? You said that you shouldn't be mean and bigoted to Republicans, Christians, and communists? Are you feeling okay, Reverend Stang? Friends, what I meant was it is wrong to be mean and bigoted only, for that is what we must save for the icing on the cake. In our hating, we must use accuracy, clarity, and objective reasoning, because that blanket hating of abstract concepts is exactly the main conspiracy construct. We must hate individual Christians and Republicans and Democrats and individual, people, because the group, the them that you start hating, that's just a conspiracy-defined sub-conspiracy.
Icke and others point to the fact that the Illuminati symbol, the pyramid with an all-seeing raised capstone, is also a symbol of American governance.
The reverse of the Great Seal of the United States had this Illuminati symbol on it. And one of the great frontmen for the Illuminati in the 20th century, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, put it on the dollar bill, the same symbol. And if you look at the words above and below, it actually says, welcoming the arrival of the new secular order, the New World Order. And the New World Order is one of the code names for this Illuminati agenda.
Even the most endearing of all American icons is believed by many to be a symbol of the Illuminati conspiracy.
The most obvious symbol of the Illuminati through history has been the torch, or the lighted torch, or the flame. Illuminated ones, Illuminati. Now, the most famous lighted torch in the world is the Statue of Liberty, right, in New York Harbor. Now, of course, because of the propaganda, Americans see that as a symbol of they're in the land of the free. That Statue of Liberty was given to New York by French Freemasons from Paris. And in this topsy-turvy world, that is not saying in New York Harbor, look, this is the land of the free. What that's saying is, we're running the show, we're telling you, but you can't see it, can you?
I think it's all nonsense. It is nonsense that's repeated and acquires a certain reality because it's repeated decade after decade by so many people, but it doesn't make it more true.
men who were hauling for a living, introduced them to the sun, showed them to his dreamer's window, what together forever they could become. He raced past boys who were sitting on their schooling, took his lessons on the run, studied history in the freight yards and the future of labor when his work was done. You can argue his motives and his passions, what moved the heart and ruled his mind. He carried strength to brothers in union, now he's gone before his time. Now he's gone before his time. And you can hear the truckers rumble from Maine to Idaho. We'll remember you, Jimmy, wherever we are, and we'll remember wherever we go. We'll remember wherever we go. He never forgot the roots of his beginning, was a proud coal miner's son, gave respect to blue-gray diesel, the rank and file of old and young. Now we hold him to judgment and measure, question purpose and ponder his line. He made life a little better for us plain folks. Now he's gone before his time. Now he's gone before his time. And you can hear the truckers rumble from Maine to Idaho. We'll remember you, Jimmy, wherever we are, and we'll remember wherever we go. We'll remember wherever we
The official Freemason history claims no connection to the Illuminati nor any other type of secret inner circle by any other name. In fact, some state that the Freemasons are not a secret society, but an open society with secrets.
Now, I don't want anybody to get the wrong idea. I'm not saying that all Masons are sinister conspirators. It's not the case at all. But what Masonic historians and authors have made very, very plain is that within Freemasonry, there is a small inner core, an inner circle, if you will, of people who have some knowledge of the true agenda. And then you have a huge outer circle that basically doesn't even know the inner circle exists.
Who are the handful of men inside this so-called inner circle? To find the answer, conspiracy advocates point to one secret society in continuous existence since 1832.
Skull and Bones is a springboard for a young man to be brought in, trained, conditioned, imbued with these doctrines, and then placed into positions of power to carry out the agenda of the older secret societies.
The ratio of Skull and Bones members who go on to significant positions of power, either in front of the camera or behind it, is enormous. The Skull and Bones Society does not operate in isolation. It is a strand within the greater web. And an important one in America. Presidents are not elected by ballot. They are selected by blood.
The Skull and Bones Society is founded in 1832 by 15 seniors at Yale University in New Haven, Connecticut. They establish a secret society with rules and rituals that remain unchanged to this day.
I work in dealing with the infiltration of churches and religious institutions as well as government. That cover a tremendous number of institutions. The purpose is what the Roman Catholic system has all the time as her own purpose, is to infiltrate, to penetrate all the areas of life where the Roman Catholic can have control and access for the coming world government. What that means is, in preparation for that world government, the Roman Catholic institution, especially since the establishment of the Jesuit order in 1541, throughout all these 500 years, they've been in preparation and through infiltration and penetration of every level of society in order to take over the world politically and religiously.
I don't mean sub-conspiracy. It's there to lull and lure certain especially frustrated subgeniuses into thinking that there's a simple answer to everything. And this us versus them crap is in fact the very sort of mass fuzzy thinking that the conspiracy invented. Not Bob. There's no us, and there's no them. There's just you, me, and everybody else. Oh, but then you go, but what if the alternative conspiracies? Can't I believe in any of those? Aren't some of them at least cool? The jokers, the deformed people, the outcasts, the transsexuals, the mutants, the retards, and the hideous super geniuses in wheelchairs. What of them? What of and the bonobos, onobos, and monobos? What of these once beloved minorities? Must we distrust and hate them too and slay them instead of worshiping them as we subgenii always used to worship those weirdos and geeks? In other words, can't we just kill without hating? It's enough that that on X Day we're going to slowly dismember entire cities full of ignorant, disbelieving normals. Do we have to drag hate into it? Do we have to dirty up our clean killing with hate? Friends, I don't feel that that's necessary. I don't feel we need to lower ourselves to that kind of behavior, hating while killing.
Well, secrecy has always been extremely important to Skull and Bones, but there's been a schizophrenic kind of aspect to it. For instance, throughout the early 1900s, the New York Times would often publish, sometimes on the front page, the names of the new Skull and Bones initiates. And the Yale class books would, up until the 1960s, publish the names of each class of Skull and Bones. Still, even though their identities were known, what they did inside the tomb was still supposed to be top secret.
The tomb is the Skull and Bones Clubhouse, a 3-story, almost windowless brownstone on High Street.
When I was an undergraduate, and I lived next to it, it's a very spooky kind of place, and you could project all sorts of fantasies about what sort of spooky and horrific things were going on inside, just from the sense it gave of the intimidating kind of aura it had.
10 years after he graduates in 1968, Ron Rosenbaum sets out to penetrate the confines of this secret society.
You would hear all sorts of stories about the initiations that went on, the kind of horrific psychodramas that they would put the initiates through. You were supposed to be able to hear screams, blood-curdling screams coming out of the tomb of Skull and Bones. And there were tales of strange sexual confession encounter groups, guys lying naked in coffins, wrestling in mud piles.
Rosenbaum attempts to interview the Bonesmen themselves, but most refuse. Instead, he gathers information from people close to the members, particularly girlfriends who have been given secret information, and some of whom have even been allowed inside.
better get away from all of this. People like Sam Harris and all who brandish their penmanship like a sword to lacerate Christians and all the wars we've caused. Has he ever counted the millions that atheism has killed? And the difference in atheism, it can logically emerge. In a transcendent Judeo-Christian worldview, it would have to be in violation of what they believe. The kind of stuff that's going on. He doesn't care that 10 million female babies have been eradicated in India only because they were female. Is this all right? Or is this the human heart displayed in such heartbreaking ways? He describes, and Hobart Maurer went to his grave a skeptic. He taught at Johns Hopkins, taught at Harvard, committed suicide at the age of 75. But he wrote in Psychology Today, sometime I think in the 70s, he said, you know, when we did away with sin, we lost our definition of ourselves. It's a skeptic saying that. We lost who we were.
They describe an interior with all the trappings of a late Victorian Gothic fantasy. There is heavy, dark furniture, medieval armor, animal heads, and everywhere there are skulls and bones, including a skeleton bonesman called Madame Pompadour.
If you listen to what people have said who've had some experience of that secret society, the Skull and Bones, it is more than just a talking shop. It involves the worship of the skull.
A number of reports say that there are niches with human skulls, and whose skulls they are. They're supposedly the skulls of famous people, and there's one skull that was labeled the skull of Geronimo. The reason why skulls and bones figure so prominently in it is a kind of strain of imagery that dates back to Masonic societies in Germany, in which it was important for a youth to contemplate his death.
The Skull and Bones initiation ceremony is said to be held in April in the tomb's basement. One distinguished member serves as master of ceremonies. Once in robe, he is known as Uncle Toby. The shortest senior is appointed Little Devil and dons a satanic costume. A bonesman with a deep voice is dressed as Don Quixote. Another is dressed as the college's founder, Elihu Yale. Still another is given papal vestments. It would all be rather funny if it weren't for the fact that among the former bonesmen are three presidents: William Howard Taft, George Bush, George W. Bush, numerous senators and ambassadors, industrialists like William Whitney, CIA agents, State Department officials, and publishing magnate Henry Luce.
Interestingly enough, the voice of reason they used in this docu-whatever is Daniel Pipes, mostly criticized for being a Jew, a Zionist, and being a member of the Council on Foreign Relations by the conspiracists. He's an advocate of bombing the hell out of Iran. This is from his wiki. Daniel Pipes is an American writer and political blogger who focuses on criticism of Islam and Islamism. Pipes is the founder and director of the Middle East Forum, a conservative think tank, as well as the founder of Campus Watch, a controversial organization which states its mission to be critiquing poor scholarship concerning the Middle East, but which has been characterized by some critics as a vehicle for harassing scholars critical of Israel. Pipes has often been characterized as a neoconservative. His 2003 nomination by U.S. President George W. Bush to the board of directors of the U.S. Institute of Peace was protested by Democratic leaders, Arab American groups, and civil rights activists, who cited his allegedly rightist views and oft-stated belief that force was the most effective remedy to conflict. The Washington Post editorialized his selection as a cruel joke. A critic of the Obama administration, Pipes has written in support of a preemptive strike on Iran, which Pipes believes is preparing a nuclear bomb. In 2010, Pipes cautioned that Iran could launch an electromagnetic pulse attack on the United States, utterly devastating the country. According to Pipes, attacking Iran would cause Americans to rally around the flag, conferring domestic political advantage upon the Obama administration, just as 9/11 caused voters to forget George W. Bush's meandering early months. Keep your eyes open, friends, because the conspiracy is not just some little secret society. It's the machine that powers the world. I think it uses your stolen Slack to do this. It's an abuse of power that wouldn't even concern the Pinks at all if they knew about it. They think Slack is something that lazy people do. So please stay tuned to whatever dial you want to turn for next week's conclusion to...
It's a conspiracy. If it's not an act of Bob, it's a conspiracy.